Here we are with another episode of Becka's Talking. Thank you for joining us. And as always, it's brought to you by the fine folks out at Havana Garage. Havana Garage in the Old Market. It's a great place to just go and relax, maybe have a cigar, maybe not have a cigar. You don't have to be a cigar smoker to enjoy Havana Garage. But if you are a cigar smoker, they've got a humidor there you would not believe. A humidor. They got a wide selection of great craft cocktails plus whiskeys and scotch. I'm a scotch guy. They got a real nice scotch selection there at Havana Garage. You know, if you're going to a concert at the CHI Center or maybe something out at the Durham, or maybe you're doing something out at the Orpheum or any of the other fine Holland Center, whatever you got going on, maybe just dinner, a nice dinner, a celebratory dinner in the Old Market, make Havana Garage a part of your event. Make it part of your night. Or maybe just a place to stop at happy hour and relax a little bit. Havana Garage in the Old Market. Tell them that Becka sent you. So, my guest today has got a book with a very interesting title. I'm going to clean it up for the podcast. I will show it here. For those watching the video, I will show the book cover here. But basically, the name of the book is called Eat Caca and Smile. The caca word actually is the S word, but I'm not going to say it here. My guest is Jerry Banks. And Jerry, I guess to begin this conversation, what makes you qualified to write a book with such a provocative title?
Well, Tom, thank you for allowing me to be here. I've been writing as a hobby for 25 years, and I wanted to write a message that I could leave to my great-grandkids that I may never meet with my 2 cents of advice. Whether they ever take it or not is yet to be determined. But I had an impactful conversation with a elderly real estate gentleman when I was 18 years old, and he told me the key to success was to eat stuff and smile. And I never forgot it. And I found out through life that was just true about life, not just real estate, that your ability to be resilient and to learn how to take your lumps and take your arrows and keep moving forward and keep smiling was important to life.
You say you got this from an older real estate guy when you were first starting out in your career.
Yes.
But I'm sort of the belief that even if he hadn't told that to you, that it's the personality type that would have kept you going with this route anyway.
Yes, that's very true. I've always been very stubborn and worked my way through problems. I've had a lot of garbage in my life. I like to call it the roller coaster, full of highs and lows. But I also know that everybody has that. They have highs and lows in their life. And I realized as time went on, there were some key elements to help me get through the lows and to achieve the highs. And my first original goal, as I said, was to write something that I could leave as advice for my grandkids. And then I started sharing it with others. And next thing I know, I've got a book.
You said some techniques to help you deal with the lows.
Yes.
What are some of those techniques?
Well, I write about what I think everybody has in their DNA built-in GPS systems, if you will, and I believe it's in everybody's DNA. You just need to know how to turn it on, utilize it. I think there's 5 key elements to that. I call it the 4Ds plus 1. It's dreaming, making good decisions, being disciplined, being determined, and then the plus 1 is being resilient and getting through the low points and knowing that tomorrow will be better. There's not a family or person out there that doesn't have what I call skeletons in their closet that haunt them or bother them or lows in their life. The fact is, you just got to know that life is good, and I will get through this, and I will be determined, and I will come out better.
In your business dealings and your connections with people in life and that, have you noticed any specific traits that help people deal with this? In other words, I know like hearing you talk and reading a little bit of the book, it reminded me of my dad.
Okay.
My dad was always one of those, basically, eat caca and smile,
Right.
that tomorrow's going to be a better day, and
My dad, too.
bounce back and all of that stuff, right?
Right.
Which was ingrained in me.
Right.
Not everybody has that.
Correct.
Right. And quite honestly, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I will. But, I got a brother that maybe has let life beat him down a little bit more than it should have.
Right.
Right. And so, having said that, why can some people just roll with the punches and others let the punches knock them down.
Yeah, I wish I had the answer to that, and I wish there was a magic pill somebody could take to get over that. But I think it comes through just having a mental state and learning and observing others. And one of the things I talk about in the book is to never stop learning, and I think that's very key to it. I also believe that having a heart filled with gratitude is key to having an optimistic outlook about the future. And as Coach Valvano said, never, ever give up. And I'm a true believer in that. And so I think some of it is genetic, some of it's DNA, some of it's learned experiences, some of it is having gone through lows in your life and recovering and then finding out, I can do better. I will survive.
You mentioned Coach Valvano, but your foreword in your book is written by Creighton basketball coach Greg McDermott.
Yes. Very honored to have Coach agree to write the foreword of the book. And he talks a lot in his coaching about more important than the winning is the process of living and learning and playing and growing as an individual. And his philosophies in how he coaches and goes about his work is very similar in many ways to mine. And I really appreciate his being willing to write the foreword for my book.
Let's talk a little bit about the book here, because one of the stories that I found very interesting, and maybe it needs to be fleshed out a bit, but maybe it fleshed out later in the book.
Yes.
Is the story about you in Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Crazy story.
Yeah. Well, that's why
crazy story.
That's why I want to know. I want to know more to it, because when I just read the first part there, it seemed to leave me hanging.
It's in three parts, scattered through the book with it. But when I was 19 years old, I went to Saigon as a private citizen for 1 week. And you got to keep in mind the timing of this was November of 1974, which is about 6 months before the fall of Saigon. And I had a sister-in-law. My brother had married, and they'd moved back to Glenwood, Iowa. She was from a wealthy family in Vietnam. And he had never gone to Vietnam. He met her in California when he was in the Marines. She asked me to go to Vietnam to help try to get two of her sisters out of the country. And one of them was 18. And the plan was that I would go over there and sign papers that she and I were going to be engaged or were engaged and going to get married back in the States. And that way she'd be able to get a visa and get out of the country. And on my second day in Vietnam, the U.S. Embassy, we went there to sign papers, and they made me stay and pulled me in a back room with an attaché, and he saw right through the plan and was trying to get me to admit that it was all a ruse to get her out of the country. I froze, and basically he had two Marines throw me out the door, and he told me if I needed help while I was in this country, not to call them. They weren't going to be of any use to me.
And that's where it ends in that first chapter there. But you say later on the story develops from there.
Right. The other thing I want to say is I had a 7-day visa, and I was told when I got my visa at the consulate's office in San Francisco that if I wasn't out of the country in 7 days, that the government couldn't help me and that I had to be out in 7 days. The other thing the attaché at the embassy told me is there was going to be an FBI investigation and that I'd be going to prison. And so I froze up and left there, and I was scared to death. Over the next 6 days, I went all over Saigon signing papers for this family, and I had no idea what was going on. It was all in Chinese or Vietnamese. Saw horrible, horrible scenes of a war-ravaged country and a war-ravaged population that I still have color photographs in my mental memory of that were just horrible scenes. On the 6th day there was a big meeting of the family with their attorney, and I was left in an outer room by myself for a long time. And at the end of the 6th day, the attorney for the family came to me and told me that the family had decided I was staying. And I said, no, sir, I'd love to help you. I've done all I can, but I'm going home tomorrow. I got a flight tomorrow and my visa's up. And he said, no, we're not asking you. We're telling you. You're staying. And we're going to fix your visa through the black market. End of discussion. And he got up and left the room. And later that night, I sat down with the oldest sister in the family. Her name was Carol, and we had a long talk. And I've told her I've done everything I was asked to do, but if I have to walk to the airport, I'm getting on that plane tomorrow. I'm sorry. And she finally agreed, and the next morning she snuck me out of the house against the family's request or decision and snuck me to the airport.
Okay, and I'm sure there's more to the story in the
Yes.
book. And so we'll let the rest of it out there as sort of a tease to get people to buy the book. It's interesting that we're doing this interview today. Because yesterday, there's a group of guys, we get together once a month for lunch.
Okay.
And there's maybe 15 of us or so that all get together. It's a big table and that. And the little group that I was sitting with somehow got onto the topic of how lucky we were to be born in America during this time, to be born, as educated people.
Absolutely.
White people,
Yes.
white men for the,
male.
Yeah, male, yeah, white men, and
You won the lottery.
precisely, and yeah, I mean, could I be richer? Yeah, taller, more handsome, whatever, yeah,
Right.
drive a nicer car, yeah, but when you consider what the rest of the world is going through,
Right.
if you consider what the rest of the world is going through, then, we really, and this is Warren Buffett's philosophy too, is that, we really have won the lottery.
Oh, we absolutely have. I barely graduated high school. I never went to college. But where else but in the United States could I have had the entrepreneurial opportunities that I had? Now, I had a lot of losses, about went broke twice, failed businesses and so on. But in 1992, I was very blessed to be hired by the Lozier family to go to work for them to start a real estate investment portfolio. Ended up working for them a little over 23 years and learned so much from Alan Lozier. And he always preached, the day you were born in America, the day you were born in the Midwest and you were born white male, you had a life of privilege in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
and you were you won the lottery, basically. And I think that's very true. We do have, there is an advantage to that.
And I think there's an obligation also, though, to help others that maybe didn't get that same lottery
Absolutely.
ticket to help them along the way.
Yes.
If they've got, and again, if they have the attitude to be able to not wallow in
Right.
their situation and be willing to go out there and, get busy.
Right, and there's one of the things that Alan talked about a lot with me and taught me is that we have an obligation to help level the playing field if we can. And I talk about charity and giving back to the community a lot in my book and what it's done for me in my life and helped me. And I'm always reminded of a quote that's attributed to Winston Churchill that says, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give."
No, it's interesting. I never heard that quote before, but that's an interesting quote.
Yes, yeah.
So you mentioned that, you almost went broke twice.
Yep.
I found that to be the case of many entrepreneurs.
Right.
Right? That you are, willing to go and roll the dice, and sometimes it comes up crap, and sometimes it's,
Right.
you hit the jackpot.
Right. I talk a lot about that in my book. I've also, went through a nasty divorce, and I ended up with two little girls on my front step, if you will, to raise at 14 and 10. And their mom had little to nothing to do with the three of us for the next 10, 12 years. So I got to raise two girls as a single dad, and what a blessing it was. Didn't feel like it at the time, but it really ended up being one of the greatest blessings of my life. And in looking back and in writing this book, and this was the message I wanted to leave for my great-grandkids, or future generations, is that life is good. You just got to get through these low points and everything else. And also that failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is a part of success. You will be able to find success through failure. And also, an adage that I've adopted is not all storms come to destroy or to disrupt your life. Some storms come to clear your path for the future. And I've had that happen to me more than once in my life. And so I think if you're implementing the keys to your own GPS and you're daydreaming about your future, you make good decisions that take you in the direction of your dreams, you stay determined, you stay disciplined, and then you smile and eat caca, as you said, through the down times. And you be resilient and you get through them knowing that life is going to be better and life is good.
An analogy I've made way too many times is that just human nature to focus on the negative. If you've got a paper cut, you're complaining about the paper cut, and you're not talking about the 99.999% of your body that's doing well.
Absolutely. And, one of the things I've made an analogy of in some of my other writings is our moods are like the weather. That you can have storms and you can have bad days and you can have things that come into your life that wreak havoc, or you can have sunshine and you can have spring and a beautiful fall day. The difference is we get to make the choice with our attitude and our mind versus the weather. We don't have a choice. It is what it is, okay? But we have a choice every single day we wake up as to what kind of attitude we're going to take to that day.
But I would also suggest, and maybe you would disagree with me on this, I would also suggest that if you've got that, whistle a happy tune attitude every day of your life, you're being unrealistic.
Oh, absolutely. I have down days. I've had one this week that I got through. But, I learned a little hack or a little trick for myself when I'm having those days, or I think I've got arrows on my back and everybody's after me, is... A lot of most people have a bucket list of things they want to do in their life or places they want to go and travel. I have that too, but I also have a bucket of blessings that I keep in mind. And when I'm having a down day, I pull out my notebook or my phone where I've got it in my notes where I keep a list of my bucket of blessings. And those are the things that I need to give gratitude for. My kids, my grandkids, my business, my whatever, my close friends, the wins that I've had. And in my bucket of blessings is even the down stuff that I've gone through, the bad stuff. Mm-hmm. Because what I've overcome in my life means so much more to me than anything I've ever achieved. And I know that I've overcome these things, and I got through them. And that's a part of my bucket of blessings that I rely upon when I have my down days.
Now, as you mentioned, you were, 18 years old when you went to Vietnam, right?
19, yes.
19. So that puts you at a man of a certain age, as they would say.
You might say.
Okay, so...
Let's ignore that.
Yeah, well, hey, trust me, yes. In my mind, I'm still 30.
Oh, yes.
When you talk about this, I found that a lot of this also comes with age.
No question.
That as you get older, some of the things that used to really upset me don't upset me so much anymore.
Absolutely.
And part of that's because of some things that have happened in my life that I had to overcome,
right.
And that, or seeing things that other people were dealing with and realize, right. What am I complaining about because this person,
Right.
But at the same time, a lot of that comes with age. You say you want to write this for your great-grandchildren and that.
Right.
But... will they get it at an early age? Or
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me. I have a 16-year-old grandson and plays football, and he gave a copy of my book to one of his buddies that's a freshman. And the other night, I saw this freshman. He came running up to me and said, "Are you Mr. Banks?" "Yes." You're the one who wrote the book?" "Yes." He said, "Best book I ever read. I love it so much. Thank you so much for the book." I was blown away by it, that a freshman in high school would love what I wrote here. Mm-hmm. I never anticipated that. And I've had several messages from several college, high school age younger people just starting out in business. And I'm wondering, are these types of messages out there as much? When I grew up, when I'm sure you too, we had people in business that were public speakers, book writers like Zig Ziglar and Og Mandino and Dr. Robert Schuller, and that taught us about dreaming and positive attitude, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and so on. And I'm finding maybe there's not as much exposure to those types of elements to young people today as there was when I was growing up. I don't know. Okay, but
you mentioned those names, and my dad was an insurance salesman and an insurance executive
right.
later in his career, and so you mentioned those names, and boy, the names I hadn't thought of in for decades.
Right,
but they were names that my dad would have me focus on
right.
as a kid.
Yes.
As a kid, as part of it, and I remember even going to some big event down at the Civic Auditorium way back in the day that had like Zig Ziglar and Tom Osborne and a bunch of other people were there speaking.
Right.
And it was all about that. But yet, as I look, and of course, as we record this, and by the time it's actually released, it'll be after the election. But
right.
as we record this, I'm not seeing too much of that message. Most of the ads are all very negative. Some are downright nasty.
Right.
A lot contain a lot of lies.
Yes.
And that's on both sides. I'm not picking
right.
sides
both
on this.
Sides.
And so the question then becomes, is that the America we want to live in? I mean, what bothers me about, and let's just take either the Senate race with Dan Osborne and Deb Fischer, or the congressional race with Don Bacon and Tony Vargas.
Right.
No matter who wins those, no matter who won, those elections, half the state don't have bad feelings about them.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I've met all four of those people, and I think all four of those people, although I agree with them on everything, are good, decent people.
Yes.
But that doesn't get through anymore the way that it might have.
Right.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know. I love history. I read a lot on history, and I know that back in the days of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and more, it was even more vicious than it is today, and that's hard to believe and hard to remember. And our country survived it. So I have faith in that. I think social media brings a whole new aspect to all of this, both in politics and in our lives. One of the things I write about in the book is that social media often paints, through Facebook and Twitter or whatever, these little vignettes of family that everything's perfect, my kid's perfect, honor roll student, my husband, my wife, whatever. And then when somebody's going through downtimes, they think it's only them and that they're losers. And it's a lot of that is caused by what they see in social media of everybody else's families being wonderful. And it's just not true.
Yeah.
We all have skeletons in the closet. And you go back to politics, it's unfortunately, I read recently where the people on the right judge the left by the far fringe, and the people on the left judge the people on the right by the far fringe, and they're both wrong, okay? That most of us want all the same thing. We want good schools, good families, good environment, good life. We want to live our lives without the government in the middle of it all the time. We just have different ideas and paths of how to get there, okay? And if you realize that we all are in this together, 99% of us want the same thing. It's just what's the path to get there and who exercises it.
And the willingness to, like I said, you were in real estate.
Yes, sir.
The willingness to, basically give to get.
Compromise, negotiate.
Which has become such a dirty word. It's got to be my way or nothing.
Right. And I like the adage, there's two sides to every story, and the truth is somewhere in the middle.
I want to remind people that this is brought to you by Havana Garage in the Old Market with, as I mentioned, they got a great humidor, and it is a cigar bar, but it's also just a place with nice leather chairs and a motif of the Rat Pack days, and just a nice place to go and have a good evening out. Relax, take it easy, and, if you don't have to be a cigar smoker to enjoy it. Stop by. We will see you there, Havana Garage in the Old Market. Okay, so as we get ready to wrap this up.
Yes, sir.
A little bit. Where do we go from here? You mentioned social media. I look at social media and I say social media is a tool, and just like a hammer, it can be used to build or destroy.
Right.
And also to your point, I have a friend, and she had a long business trip in Las Vegas. And she's posting pictures on Facebook about, oh, hey, look, we did this, and oh, look, we did this, and all that, right? And so I sent her a message. I said, boy, looks like you're having a great time in Vegas. And she said, no, I'm hating every minute of this.
Wow.
But that wasn't what she was putting out on Facebook.
Right.
But she just doesn't care for Vegas at all.
Yeah.
But because of her job and everything, she was putting out there, hey, look what we're doing here,
Right. Yeah.
And people have to remember that sometimes.
Absolutely. I think in everything the pendulum swings, and some of these things will run their course, and some people will learn from them and figure it out. I'm not a big social media person myself, and I'm on LinkedIn fairly actively and a little bit on Facebook, and then that's about it. But you have to take it for what it's worth and realize that a lot of it's not true, not valid, and it's a painted picture that somebody's trying to paint a picture to show only what they want to show.
If there was one thing from your book, and by the way, the subtitle of Eat Caca and Smile is Surviving and Thriving on the Roller Coaster of Life. If there's one message out of this book that you want people to take away from it, what would that be?
Life is good, and it's your life. be the architect, be the designer. Don't make excuses for whatever, and move forward and believe in yourself and give back to your community. And you will survive. You will succeed. You will be happy.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate now, okay?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure, life is good for you. You're a rich white guy. You're a rich white guy. Yeah, life is good for you.
Right.
But, hey, I've got, I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. I've got health issues, and I've got, a wife that hates me,
Right.
Yeah, life is good for you,
Right.
but my life sucks.
I've been there for the most part in all those. I haven't ever had to face health issues, thankfully, but I've been on the verge of bankruptcy twice. I laid awake at night trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. I've been married, divorced. I've had a lot of things that have happened to me in traumas and so on, and I talk about that. And I've learned through life experiences that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's not a gift you give someone else. Talk about that a lot in the book. And to take responsibility for yourself and don't make excuses. Yes, I'm blessed today, but it took a long time and a lot of hard work to get there. Luckily, I had a few people believe in me, but I also believed in myself. And I know how blessed I am and how fortunate I am, no question. And that's why I give back to try to help to level the playing field.
And again, I'm going to get a little political here. When Vivek Ramaswamy was running for president, he did a town hall in Council Bluffs.
Mm-hmm.
And, here he was, a guy that was talking about how bad things were in America.
Mm-hmm.
And he was complaining about, how the government was keeping you down and all this sort of a thing. And I asked him, I said, hey, you are basically the American dream. You're the son of immigrants. You're a very wealthy man, and now you're running for president. You are the American dream.
Correct.
Why are you telling these people that they can't achieve what you've achieved?
Mm-hmm.
But there's money in basically telling people that they're not going to be able to do what he's done, right?
Right.
There's money in that. There's money in that where, he can go and maybe build himself up a little bit by complaining about how bad things are for everybody else.
Yeah. Everybody has an agenda, right?
Yeah.
With it. So that wasn't my agenda, and I'll lose money on writing this book, and I didn't care. And I learned recently that when you can be the servant of your message, that you believe in your message, and that you're just purely a servant to the message, then you're in the zone, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And that's where I believe this book has brought me, is I think there's a really good message here that, life is tough. Life is a roller coaster. It's got a lot of lows, but you can get through it. And at the end, or not the end of life, but if you stick with it, life is good.
Life is good. I do agree with you, although sometimes it's harder to smile when you're eating the caca, but you can get through it. And like I said, being in broadcasting, when you're hired to be fired, I've definitely in my career experienced a lot of ups and downs, but at the same time, wouldn't trade a minute of it.
Right.
Wouldn't
enjoy the process, enjoy the journey.
And I think you would agree with me on this. You'll learn a lot from the downtimes.
Absolutely. I've learned more from my failures than I ever have my successes.
Jerry, I appreciate your time.
I've enjoyed it, Tom.
Brought to you by Havana Garage in the Old Market. Havana Garage, a great place to stop on by for happy hour, maybe a night out on the town, whether you're a cigar smoker or not. You don't have to be a cigar smoker to enjoy the atmosphere, the friendliness, the people. At really one of the best places in the Old Market. Been there for a long, long time, and you don't stay in that business unless you know what you're doing. You know what? You might be the third or fourth guest I've had that when I do ads for Havana Garage, I've been saying, oh, yeah, I love that place.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and I'm proud to have them as a sponsor. We do this every Tuesday. A new podcast is released. And you know what? You might want to just take some time, now that the weather's getting a little bit cooler and the nights are getting longer, take some time and maybe just go down the rabbit hole and see all the great podcasts, all the great interviews we have on the Becka's Talking page at WWT.com. Till next Tuesday at 10 a.m. when another podcast is released. Take care and bye, y'all.